Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're heading straight into the heart of a culinary boomtown.
Riyadh.
You got it. We're talking about a city that's quickly becoming a global foodie paradise.
And we're diving deep into how lucrative this culinary explosion actually is.
Exactly. We got our hands on this really fascinating article from Menuviel.
Yeah, it breaks down restaurant earnings in Riyadh, and
I thought
honestly,
these numbers were pretty surprising.
definitely eye-opening, and that's what we're going to dig into today.
So if you're thinking about opening a restaurant, maybe,
Or just curious about what makes Riyadh's food scene so special.
this deep dive is for you.
Think sizzling kebabs, aromatic spices, and a city buzzing with hungry diners.
That's Riyadh's restaurant scene right now.
Yeah.
It's this electric mix of, those local favorites everyone loves. Oh, absolutely. But also, big international chains are moving in.
Right. Everyone wants a piece of this pie.
And it's no wonder it's such a competitive market. I mean, think about it. A booming population, more disposable income, and this huge cultural shift towards dining out, especially among young people.
It's like dining out has become a lifestyle.
Totally. And you can't talk about Riyadh's food.
So we've got this recipe for success brewing here. We've got this hungry market, this government support, and a city that's embracing its culinary side. You'd think, okay, opening a restaurant in Riyadh is a guaranteed path to success.
Well, not so fast. It's not quite as simple as that. There's more to it. Remember we were talking about those average earnings in the article?
Yeah.
Well, those are just averages.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of factors that influence the reality.
Uh-huh. So you're saying there's more to the story than meets the eye. Time to dig a little deeper then. What's the real scoop on what restaurant owners in Riyadh are taking home? All right, so let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
The numbers. Everyone wants to know about the money, right?
Exactly. And this article breaks it down in a really interesting way. It looks at restaurant earnings based on size.
Yeah, they divide it into those small, medium, and large categories.
Right. So let's start small. What are we talking about here in terms of like a small restaurant in Riyadh?
So think of your local spot, maybe seats 30 to 50 people, kind of a neighborhood place. They're looking at an average annual income somewhere between 300,000 to 800,000 rials.
Okay, not too shabby. Not a bad income for your passion project.
Exactly. Now, if you're thinking bigger, maybe a more established place, a bit more on the medium-sized end.
So we're talking maybe 70 to 100 seats, a bit more of a bustling atmosphere.
Right. Those guys are pulling in a significantly higher average. We're talking 800,000 to a cool 2 million rials annually.
Okay, now we're talking. All right, but I'm going to guess that the real, the big earners, those top-tier places.
The fancy ones.
Exactly. What are they pulling in?
We're talking about that luxurious ambiance, maybe a renowned chef, a sommelier, the whole 9 yards. Those top-tier places, according to the article, can rake in upwards of 2 million rials.
Wow, okay. I'm starting to feel a little jealous over here. But, it's interesting because you mentioned earlier that these are just averages.
Right, and averages don't tell the whole story.
Exactly. So what are the things that really make or break a restaurant in Riyadh? What's the secret sauce? What makes one place a booming success while another one is, struggling to keep their doors open?
It's a great question. And there are a few key ingredients that this article highlights. And the first one is a classic. Location, location, location.
Of course,
You know
but it's
that?
not just about being in Riyadh. It's about being in the right part of Riyadh, right?
100%. I mean, setting up shop in a bustling commercial hub versus a quiet residential area, huge difference.
Nice day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you've got to think about accessibility. Can people get to you easily? Is there parking? All those things really matter.
Convenience is king.
It really is.
Yeah.
But let's say you've got that prime location. You've still got to get people in the door, and you've got to make sure your pricing makes sense.
Right. Because you could have the best location in the world, but if your food is overpriced, no one's going to bite.
Exactly. And that's where menu pricing strategy comes in. The article talks about these two main approaches.
Yeah.
Cost-based pricing versus value-based pricing.
Okay, break those down for us.
So cost-based is pretty simple. You figure out your costs, you add a markup, and boom, there's your price. Pretty straightforward.
But kind of basic, right?
Exactly. And that's where value-based pricing comes in. This is where things get a little more interesting. Because with value-based pricing, you're not just charging for the food on the plate, you're charging for the entire experience.
Oh, I like that.
Right? So it's like you're crafting this whole ambiance. Maybe it's the decor, maybe it's the service, maybe you've got live music. Who knows?
Selling a feeling.
Exactly. And customers these days, especially in places like Riyadh, they're willing to pay a premium for that experience if it aligns with, their perception of value.
It's like you're creating a memory, not just serving a meal.
100%.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. None of this matters. I mean, the location, the pricing, the concept, none of it matters if you don't have the right people to execute your vision.
Ugh, the people factor. The eternal challenge of staffing. I imagine in a hot market like Riyadh, it's got to be tough to find and keep good people.
Oh, it's huge. The article actually highlights staffing as one of the biggest factors in a restaurant's success or failure.
Because high turnover, that's a killer for any business, but especially restaurants, I'd imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're constantly training new people. It eats into your profits.
Yeah.
It's not a sustainable model.
It's the opposite of that well-oiled machine we were talking about.
Right. You want consistency. You want to create a good environment for your staff. You want them to stay.
It's about building a team, not just hiring employees.
100%. So location, pricing, and that all-important people factor, those seem to be the key ingredients in this recipe for restaurant success, Riyadh style.
It's like that perfect storm.
It really is. But like any good dish, there are a few secret spices that can really elevate things.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Spill the tea. What are these secret spices? All right, give us an example. Lay one of those success stories on us.
Okay, picture this. An upscale fine dining spot, 150 seats, prime location, raking in a cool 7 million rials annually.
Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. That's the dream right there. What's their secret?
Well, the article emphasizes their dedication to quality, like top-notch ingredients, exceptional service, really going all out.
No cutting corners.
Not a chance. But here's the other thing. They're marketing geniuses. They've really honed in on their target audience, those diners who appreciate the finer things in life, and they know how to reach them.
So it's not enough to just be amazing. You've got to make sure the right people know you're amazing.
100%. All right, so that's kind of your, high-end success story, but let's look at a different flavor of success. The article also talks about this casual dining chain.
Okay, I love those.
They're killing it. They're pulling in an average of 3 million rials per location.
Wow, multiple locations, consistent earnings. Okay. This is a recipe for success I can get behind. So what's their angle? What are they doing right?
Consistency. That's their game. They've got their brand down to a science.
Yeah.
They offer those affordable, crowd-pleasing dishes that everyone loves, and they just keep people coming back for more.
It's like they've cracked the code.
They've perfected the formula. All right, are you ready for a cautionary tale, though? Because we talked about the good. Now let's get into, maybe what not to do.
Oh, always my favorite part. Because let's be honest, we learn just as much from the failures as we do from the successes, right?
Absolutely. Sometimes even more.
So give us the dirt. Give us an example of a restaurant that, maybe didn't quite make it.
Okay, so there's this one story in the article, and it's kind of heartbreaking. It's this high-end concept, right? And they had this really unique selling point. They put a lot of money into it, but they just couldn't seem to attract customers.
What went wrong?
Well, according to the article, their biggest downfall was their location.
Ah, there it is again. Location, location, location. You can have the best concept in the world, but if you're in the wrong spot...
You're dead in the water.
Exactly.
And sadly, they ended up earning less than 500,000 rials in their first year, and ultimately they had to close their doors.
That's rough. It really highlights how many factors are at play.
Right. And we haven't even touched on things like seasonality, which is huge in Riyadh.
Oh, right. Ramadan, Eid, those scorching summer months. You've got to factor all of that in.
Huge impact. The article talks about how, for example, Ramadan brings this massive surge in business for iftar.
Makes sense.
But then the summer heat can lead to a dip in on-site dining.
It's like this ebb and flow, this rhythm you've got to figure out.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's the whole other layer of legal and tax considerations.
The paperwork. It's the backbone of any good business, but not always the most exciting part.
Right. But it's crucial. So the article talks about the importance of securing the correct restaurant license, meeting all those health and safety standards, understanding Saudi Arabia's labor laws.
And speaking of labor laws, we've got to mention the Nidicot program.
Right. That's a big one. So basically, the Nidicot program is designed to encourage businesses in Saudi Arabia to hire Saudi nationals. It's a way to boost local employment.
So that's something that anyone looking to open a restaurant in Riyadh absolutely needs to be aware of.
Absolutely. From day one. All right. So I know we've thrown a lot of information at you today. It can seem a little overwhelming, right? But that's what we're here for.
We're here to break it down. This deep dive is like your cheat sheet to Riyadh's restaurant scene. We've distilled all the essential information so you don't have to.
We've talked about the incredible potential, but we've also highlighted those make or break factors. It's not always easy, but the rewards can be huge.
So before we wrap up, we want to leave you with something to chew on. We've talked about how competitive the market is. We've talked about all these factors that contribute to success, but now we want to hear from you.
Yeah, what do you think?
What unique concept or dining experience do you think is missing in Riyadh? What would make you choose one restaurant over another?
What would make you say, that's the one?
Exactly. Leave us a comment and let us know. We want to hear your thoughts. Until next time, happy eating!